All right, welcome to our year-end science wrap-up. And wow, 2025, it was a year of surprises. A year where scientists didn't just find new answers, they completely tore up the old textbooks. We're going to look back at the biggest discoveries that totally flipped what we thought we knew.
So let's really get into the theme for this year's roundup. We often think of science as this solid block of facts, but 2025 was a huge reminder that it's actually this living, breathing process of challenging, refining, and sometimes just completely junking what we held as truth.
And we're going to kick things off with breakthroughs that are rewriting the rule book on medicine and disease, starting with something a lot of people are familiar with.
For ages, the going theory for ADHD meds like Ritalin was pretty simple. They just crank up the brain's attention dial. But new research from Washington University completely challenged that, showing something way more subtle is going on.
So researchers looked at brain scans from almost 6,000 kids, and what they saw was fascinating. The drugs aren't really forcing focus. Instead, they're lighting up the brain's reward and wakefulness systems. It makes tasks feel more interesting, more engaging, so it's less about forcing the brain to focus and more about making it want to.
Okay, this next one is just wow. It reveals the sheer cleverness, the cunning of cancer. Scientists at Tel Aviv University have uncovered a truly sneaky strategy that melanoma uses to completely shut down our immune system.
And here's how it works. The cancer cells are basically pumping out these tiny little bubbles that act like decoys. Our killer T cells, the good guys who are supposed to be hunting the tumor, they get completely sidetracked. They latch onto these fakes instead of the real cancer, and just like that, the whole immune attack is neutralized. It's like the tumor has its own anti-missile system. So when you discover something like that, it opens up brand new ways to fight back. But here's the thing. Sometimes the best new weapon is one you already have. It's a strategy called drug repurposing, and researchers at Oregon Health and Science University just showed how powerful it can be.
So check this out. They took a drug normally used for breast cancer and paired it with the standard treatment for acute myeloid leukemia. Now, in mice, the standard drug alone bought them a few more weeks of survival. But the two together, boom, survival jumped to nearly a full year. The combination just stops the cancer from being able to adapt and resist. It's a huge deal.
From cancer to viruses, figuring out the exact mechanics of how a drug works is absolutely everything. And this quote, it just perfectly captures a huge win this year against herpes viruses. For the first time, researchers from Harvard actually saw how a new type of antiviral drug stops these viruses cold. So using this super powerful microscope, we're talking cryogenic electron microscopy. They could literally watch it happen. The drug molecule comes in and just physically jams the enzyme the virus uses to unwind its DNA. It's like throwing a wrench into the gears of the virus's copy machine. The virus just can't replicate. It's beautifully simple.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about our bodies, now let's talk about our tech, the stuff we build and rely on every single day. Because the assumptions there are getting overturned too.
All right, in the world of EVs, everyone was betting on this thing called the single crystal cathode. The idea was pretty straightforward. Make the part from one solid crystal, and you get rid of all the weak spots you find in older batteries. Stronger, longer lasting, a no-brainer, right? Well, it turns out there was a fatal flaw hiding in plain sight.
What scientists at the University of Chicago found was just wild. These supposedly perfect batteries were failing in a way nobody expected. They weren't cracking from the outside in. No, they were developing these deep fractures that started from the inside out.
So what was going on? It had nothing to do with those old weak points everyone was worried about. The real killer was stress, building up from uneven chemical reactions deep inside the material. This discovery just completely flips the script on battery design and is going to force engineers to rethink how to build more stable power for our future EVs.
Okay, let's switch from powering our cars to saving our lives. One of the biggest hurdles in medicine has always been finding cancer early, right? When it's actually treatable. But what if a simple blood test could change everything?
Okay, brace yourself for this number. Results from a major study showed that a new blood test identified, get this, 7 times more cancers than all our standard screening methods combined. That is not an improvement, that is a revolution.
And it gets even better than that. Not only did it find more cancers, but when it did get a hit, it could tell you exactly where that cancer was in the body with an incredible 92% accuracy. I mean, think about that. That kind of early, precise information could totally change the future of cancer treatment.
And you know, sometimes the biggest breakthroughs aren't the most high-tech. We're all worried about microplastics, right? Well, instead of some complex chemical solution, a new study found that extracts from plants, we're talking okra and fenugreek, can pull up to 90% of microplastics out of water. A biodegradable, non-toxic fix was right there in the grocery store.
Okay, for our last story, we're going to look up, way up, because a huge assumption we had about our planetary neighbor just got blasted out of the sky.
We've all seen those pictures of the dust devils on Mars, right? These big, silent pillars of red dust. Well, turns out they're not silent at all. Using the microphone on the Perseverance rover, which is just so cool, scientists heard it for the very first time. Mars crackles.
All that friction from the dust grains swirling around actually generates static electricity. It creates sparks, and these little discharges create what scientists are calling mini-sonic booms. And this is more than just a cool sound. It's powerful enough to actually change the chemistry of the Martian atmosphere. This might finally solve the mystery of why methane just seems to vanish on Mars.
So there you have it. From the inner workings of our own minds to the charged atmosphere of Mars, 2025 was the year we tore up the rulebook. Every single one of these discoveries made us toss out an old idea and look at the world and ourselves in a totally new and much more interesting light.
And that really leaves you wondering, doesn't it? As we head into a new year, what big fact that we all take for granted right now will be the next to fall? It's just a powerful reminder that science isn't about having all the answers. It's about having the courage to question them.